De l'île Palmetto ou Latanier au canal d'Elcombre à la prairie acadienne, l'avocat Bernard Douan sert le peuple acadien depuis 45 ans. Pour la planification successorale, les affaires ou les blessures corporelles, apprenez plus à bernarddouan.com.
Les touristes qui arrivent à la Nouvelle-Orléans cherchent souvent tout d'abord un restaurant cajun. Évidemment, nous autres, on connaît qui se trompent parce que la majorité des restaurants en ville sont plutôt des restaurants créoles et les restaurants cajuns se trouvent plutôt à la campagne. Par contre, il y a des exceptions, des restaurants cajuns fondés en ville par des gens venus de l'Acadiane. On va parler avec un de ces chefs ce soir sur la Veillée. Nos histoires, notre langage, notre peuple.
Bonsoir vous autres. Bienvenue à La Veillée, l'émission hebdomadaire des interviews et reportages présentés par Louisiana Public Broadcasting et Télé-Louisiane. Mon nom, c'est Drake Leblanc. Quelle est la différence entre la cuisine cajun et créole? C'est l'une de ces questions simples mais inévitablement compliquées sur la Louisiane qui ne cesse d'alimenter les débats. Nous vous dirigeons à vos grands-mères pour une réponse générale à cette question. Mais à soir, nous allons explorer une intersection croissante des traditions culinaires cajuns et créoles. Les chefs cajuns nés dans des villages d'Acadiennes qui se sont osés à ouvrir un restaurant dans la Mecque de la cuisine créole du Sud, la Nouvelle-Orléans. En Louisiane, la discrimination généralisée contre la langue française, en particulier dans les écoles, a conduit à la formation d'une génération perdue de Louisianais dont les parents parlent le français couramment, mais ne l'ont pas transmis en raison d'une honte intériorisée. Alors que la plupart des petits-enfants de locuteurs natifs de Français louisianais n'ont pas eu la chance d'apprendre la langue, la croissance des écoles d'immersion en français au cours des 30 dernières années a permis à certains de réclamer leur héritage.
Je suis Isaac Toups. Toups? Oui.
Et d'où est-ce que tu viens? Où étais-tu né? Dans quelle ville?
Nouvelle-Orléans, Louisiane. Oui. J'ai appris le français dans mon école. Mon école, c'est lycée français de la Nouvelle-Orléans.
Les grands-parents paternels d'Ivy étaient des locuteurs natifs de française. Et bien que son père ait appris beaucoup de mots en français cajun en grandissant, il n'était pas fluide.
Mon autre grand-père de mon papa, c'est très bien.
C'est très loin, oui.
Loin. Et mon grand-parent, il n'est pas la même langue, c'est différent français. Le Cajun français et le parisien français, c'est différent.
Le père d'Ivy vit sa culture à travers la cuisine. Chef renommé à la Nouvelle-Orléans, il a participé à l'émission nationale Top Chef et a ouvert un restaurant à la Nouvelle-Orléans il y a plus de 10 ans.
Mon parent, c'est Isaac Toups et Amanda Toups. Il est né ici, Nouvelle-Orléans.
Et puis ton père, où est-ce qu'il était né?
Rennes, Louisiane. Mon parent a cuisiné, mon papa a cuisiné très bien, mon maman très bien aussi. Et mon parent a ancré à restaurant. Le restaurant, c'est Toups Meatery. C'est plein de délicieuses nourriture.
Ivy n'a pas encore développé une passion pour la cuisine elle-même, mais elle et sa sœur adorent déguster les plats de leurs parents. Elles ont aussi eu un aperçu privilégié de ce que signifie gérer un restaurant.
Est-ce que tu peux cuire? Tu peux cuisiner toi?
Je sais cuisiner pour moi le ramen et les yeux.
Mais est-ce que tu aimes manger?
Oui, j'ai mangé tous les nourritures à mon papa et mon maman à faire à moi et mon soeur. Mon grand-parent a fait du fishing camp et j'allais pêcher avec mon soeur et mon papa.
Pour Ivy, la nourriture, la langue, la musique et bien plus encore se rejoignent pour créer un sentiment unique d'appartenance qui fait de la Louisiane son chez-soi.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Veillée, Louisiana, right outside Lafayette, right in kind of the heart of Cajun culture. Background, my mother's family, the Carts, are direct descendants from the evacuation from Nova Scotia in Grand Prix. Father's side are French and Swiss, so we have some Swiss, mostly French with us. Growing up in Cajun country is great, growing up you have crawfish bowls and pig roast and hunting, fishing, and just the crop of the land. And growing up there, you don't know that outside of that people don't have these things. So you're kind of blind to it. So, looking back on it, like, wow, I had a really wonderful childhood, really steeped in all those traditions and all the ways and mannerisms of Cajun. And cooking is a huge part in Cajun culture, but it's also a really big part in my family. Not every Cajun family cooks as much as we do, and I found that out later on. My mother, she was the home cook, and she did most of the meals. But my father was also a very proficient cook. He was mostly do the outside cooking, the smoking, the roasting, fishing, and hunting. We would catch fish, we would clean the fish, and then he would fry those fish up that day. So. Really unique. My father and my mother were both adventurous eaters, so we're always tasting new things, going to new restaurants. So all the grandparents spoke pretty fluent French. In fact, they would speak it when they were talking about the adult conversations, when children were meant to be seen, not heard, but also so they could talk adult-like and talk about whatever they were talking about behind our backs. My parents, my mother speaks more Cajun French than anyone in that, but they were reprimanded when they spoke French.
Right.
They were, no, you speak English. And that was just a terrible thing, so we never got taught any French.
Right.
It wasn't a popular thing to do. Nowadays, we're going back to no, teaching our kids French is a very important thing. In fact, both of my daughters are in French immersion here in New Orleans at Lycée Français Nouvelle New Orleans. But they're learning Parisian French. Mm-hmm. And can't be mad at it. They speak French. They're darn near fluent. So everybody older than me speaks French, and everybody younger than me speaks French. And I only know the things that my grandmother yelled at me. Fais pas ça. Don't do that. And Veillée ici, come over here. And I know when we travel to France, I can read a menu. I can read a menu, and my wife's a French wine expert, and she can order the wine. If you can order food and wine in France, you really don't need anything else.
Right.
Les toilettes, s'il vous plaît. That's about all you need.
Cool. So that makes a lot of sense. And then then you were on Top Chef at some point.
Yep.
When did that happen, and how did that come about?
Let's see what that was. So I did Top Chef in 2015.
Okay.
And that's a whirlwind adventure. Very cool adventure. Met some great friends. Met some awesome chefs. Got some PTSD from it. But it garnered me some worldwide attention. Mm-hmm. And it got me a lot of business, book deal. It got me several things. So as harrowing as Top Chef is to do, it's been very good to me. And I don't know if I'd do it again because it's a lot of time away from your family and don't realize it's a show. If I had all the time and all the money and all the mise en place and people around me to come up with a dish, it'd be a boring show. Right. You want somebody having to try to punch their own hair out because it's on fire. You want people cussing. You want people crying. Mm-hmm. You want action. You want drama. That's what makes a good show. And people, while I was on the show, aren't realizing this. Mm-hmm. I realized it. So, I sometimes turn my attitude and turn my antics up a little bit to make it good for camera, and I did pretty damn good.
Yeah, definitely. And so speaking of that, one of the things that made you unique, I think you were the only Louisianan on the show. And so what was a lot of Louisiana pessimists and New Orleans pessimists that is we have all these problems and there's all these other places that are better. And so why did you decide to stay here, send your kids to French immersion school, create a business here, create opportunity here? Why did you decide that? And what is your kind of dream? What do you think is possible for Louisiana and for New Orleans? Can we be better? How could we be better? And is it this local economy point, or what would be your dream for a better New Orleans and a better Louisiana?
Well, to answer the first question, why did I choose New Orleans? Well, it's 2.5 hours from my mama's house. and I wanted to go to a large culinary city. I'm like, New York, Chicago, too cold.
Yeah.
LA, Hollywood, too glitzy, too glamorous, you know, and so I'm looking at all these food cities. I'm like, why don't I just go to New Orleans? It's a lot easier. It was an easier move. It was an easier decision. I'm still in Louisiana. I love the culture. I love the culture of Louisiana. I love the culture of Cajuns. I absolutely love New Orleans. I love the melting pot that is city. And we have our problems, but move somewhere that doesn't have problems. And you know, we make do. We're very resilient as far as you can't have a hurricane come through here. We'll be back drinking the next day. We're always going to be cooking, and we're always going to be celebrating, and we're always going to have Mardi Gras. We're going to have that joie de vivre, that really joy of life. You know, if you like to have a good time, and you're cool, and you like to cut up a little bit, you'll be welcome in New Orleans. We're a very welcoming place, and that's never going to change.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Bien merci, merci beaucoup. And I guess we'll let you get back to work. We might eat a little bit since we're here at Toups Meatery. But yeah, bien merci tout le monde, et à la prochaine. À plus tard.
Créole ou Cajun? Tout ce que je connais, c'est que c'est manger à l'air délicieux. Un grand merci à Ivy et ses parents Isaac et Amanda Toups, qui en plus de cuisiner très bien, sont des jeunes leaders dans la génération de chefs qui ont contribué à une nouvelle énergie et des nouvelles opportunités dans l'industrie de la restauration de la Nouvelle-Orléans. Pour regarder tous les épisodes de La Veillée, rendez-vous sur lpb.org/laveillée pour les sous-titres en anglais et sur telelouisiane.com/laveillée pour les sous-titres en français. De tous nous autres ici à LPB et Télé-Louisiane, soignez-vous autres et à la prochaine.
De l'île Palmetto ou Latanier au canal d'Elcombre à la prairie acadienne, l'avocat Bernard Douan sert le peuple de l'Acadien depuis 45 ans. Pour la planification successorale, les affaires ou les blessures corporelles, apprenez plus à bernarddouan.com.